Morning, Becky, Daniel, thank you for joining us. We'll be getting started here in just a sec.
So thank you everyone for joining us. This is week 3 of our Cause Week conversation. My name is Mike May. I'm the Executive Director for Outreach Coordinator Services for McGuire. We work with 11 CFC zones across the country. That's kind of everything from Minneapolis down to Houston and then the great state of Alaska. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Antonia Gonzalez. Antonia is our National CFC Events Coordinator. Antonia's event system that you all have been using, that's been coordinating this and coordinating events in all our zones for the past 3 years, won a National Innovation Award. Antonia's done an incredible job of making what used to be a system to connect with charities and federal employees for in-person events. She has upgraded it to the 2020 version that is doing this for mostly virtual events. So Antonia, thank you very much. Do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you all on with us. This is the weekly event that we will be hosting for coordinators and charities to connect our federal employees together with the charities. And, you will be hearing much from me over the campaign season as we start getting additional events requested by the federal agencies. So we hope this is a beneficial introduction to the campaign this year, and we look forward to many additional events.
Thank you, Antonia. So the plan today is to go over and meet some charities providing services to the important needs of the community that are affected by poverty. Everybody received a copy of that cause message for this week. Our coordinators and the cause message said in part, not everyone has access to the things you and I consider basic necessities, which is food, clothing, and shelter. Poverty is measured in different ways, but for those in developing countries, this means earning less than $2 a day. Children born into poverty have relatively few chances to escape the cycle of inequality. Around 10% of the world's population lives in extreme poverty and struggles with access to healthcare, education, clean water, and sanitation. In fact, I had a organization contact us through one of our zones and wanted to go and help find an organization in the combined federal campaign that helped with water. And I think one of the things that is so important in the campaign today is making sure that the federal employees on the call and the charities understand that this system that we all use to give, Antonia gives, I give through the combined federal campaign as contractor, is a state-of-the-art national utility for charities and federal employees and contractors to use. If you go to cfcgiving.opm.gov, this is where my account is. I can go in and give today throughout the campaign. What I can't do is give by payroll deduction, but I'm a contractor. Federal employees do give by payroll deduction, give generously. And Tony, what's the average gift through payroll deduction, do you recall?
Well, it varies by zone, but here in North Texas, where I reside, our average gift per donor is about $450.
So that's federal employees that get paid 26 times a year deciding whether they're going to give $10 a paycheck or $20. Incredible amount of giving. One of the things that we do with federal employees when we talk to them about giving is they say, why don't I give directly? Well, sure, you can give directly to a charity and you can go to their website and give them $35. But when you give through the combined federal campaign and make a payroll deduction gift, the size of that gift combined, right, combined federal campaign, combined with other federal employees will be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 that charities are guaranteed to get throughout the year monthly, and they can make real differences. So I bring up this site because that one federal employee said, how would I find a charity that provides clean water internationally? So I took him to this site, typed in clean water, talking about all zones, and searched for charities. 59 charities that that have clean water either in their name or in their statement. And you can you can actually go on and put in clean water, and you can search by a zone. So you want to do, we'll do North Texas and say, now this doesn't always work, so trust me, you can come up with 0. And say you want to do less than 10% overhead. Search for charities, you find 13 that are available to employees in North Texas that provide clean water, are in North Texas, and have overhead of less than 10%. So this giving site for federal employees is such a powerful international utility for federal employees to search for charities, to give to charities, and they can give one time throughout the campaign season. They could give right now if they were on this call, a one-time gift, or they can give through payroll deduction, which starts in January. So that's the power of the combined federal campaign. That's the power of these cause messages. Antonia, the last 3 weeks, you want to give everybody up to speed on what we talked about the last 3 weeks and what we're talking about today?
Yes, our first Cause Week convo was on ending hunger. And so we had 8 charities who were speaking about hunger and the issues in their communities and what their organizations are doing to solve that problem. And then last week we discussed human rights. We did have a guest speaker on who is a refugee and migrant worker specialist and was a federal employee and has spoken before Congress multiple times on human rights issues. And then of course this week is our Cause Week is eradicating poverty. So our conversation today is going to be around the issue of poverty and what our organizations and our communities are doing to solve that issue.
So all those issues, all those topics, all those causes are exactly what we have the ability to search for, to find and support charities through the combined federal campaign. And that's why I like to bring all the federal employees here to this site and all the charities to see what a powerful, like I said, national utility the CFC is for federal employees. And this is open year round for federal employees to search and find charities that they want to support. So this is the format for today. We're going to talk a little bit about and ask the charities that are with us to talk a little bit about what the need is. And we're going to go through four of the 5 helping veterans and families of Indiana. Food Bank of the Heartland is on, Pivot, a turning point for youth, and then Community Shares of Wisconsin. Each of them are going to have 2 minutes to talk a little bit about what the needs are around poverty, what their services are, and what federal employees' donations have done for them in the past. Then we're going to take a break, kind of have a conversation, talk a little bit about what we've heard, and any federal employees that have questions or want to talk about the issue of poverty, then we'll discuss that and have our colleagues on the charity side answer some questions. Then we'll go back to the final 4 charities that we have: the National Energy and Utility Affordability Coalition, Navy Supply Corps Foundation, Skycross, and Joni and Friends. So that's our plan today. We like to keep this pretty informal. We like to say that we have the most irreverent chat of any Zoom meeting you'll be on this week. So if you have any questions, my colleague Jennifer Howard is here to man the chat, who's our National Operations Director, and I think a few other colleagues that are here. Hi, Marty, good to see you. Good morning, happy Tuesday. So Gwen, thank you for jumping on. So please ask questions that you have in the chat about CFC, about giving. If you're a charity, you can ask a charity question. Federal employees, please jump in. So without further ado, Robert White from Helping Veterans and Families of Indiana. We're gonna turn it over to you and ask you to keep your comments and education to 2 minutes. And thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for joining the CFC and committing with us together to be the face of change and make lives better through giving by the federal employees. So, Robert.
Hey, well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Antonia, CFC family, we really appreciate the opportunity to join you. Wanted to introduce Helping Veterans and Families of Indiana, CFC 29708. It's just really a neat opportunity to kind of engage you guys. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity. Again, I've been in this role as Director of Community Engagement for the past year. Previous to that, I was a federal employee, so I was a CFC local champion. And now being on the other side as a potential recipient for CFC funds, you know, with this great organization helping veterans and families. We're Indiana's largest nonprofit with a focus on helping homeless and at-risk veterans and their families. And our mission is to provide hope, housing, and self-sufficiency for all veterans and their families since 1993. Like I said, located in Indianapolis, Indiana, we offer life-changing wraparound services, mainly starting in housing with transitional housing, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing and rent assistance, and preventative financial assistance. And all these come with case management if the veteran deems it necessary. Typically, we try and catch these, you know, these guys and these gals where they're at, help them where they need the most assistance to, you know, basically just get back on their feet. We offer employment and career development services, legal support, and food, hygiene, and clothing every Tuesday and Thursday during outreach. Just to dive in as far as some of our 2019 metrics, in 2019, we served 1,438 veterans. 459 veterans were permanently housed through our 17 mixed properties throughout central Indiana. 115 received veterans legal assistance. And we see 300 to 400 veterans per month for assistance by way of any of the services we provide. Like I said, just wanted to say thank you to you guys. Again, if you'd like to give to HVAF or any of the CFC, you know, teams, please do.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for joining us and for your presentation. I appreciate that. And federal employees, I'm going to the site, the giving site, and taking advantage of being able to search for charities there and using the CFC number. I think is a wonderful way for us to understand how powerful the CFC number is. And next, Antonia, do you want to invite? I'm not sure if we had the food bank show up. Did you see her?
I don't see her. It should be Joanne Kampanen if you are on, or if another person joined us from the food bank for the Heartland. If not, then we will go ahead and go on to Natalie Fix with Pivot, a turning point for youth.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here as well. We're excited to be involved in the CFC campaign. It's always a fun time of year for us because we love talking about who we are and what we do. So we are Pivot, a turning point for youth, and we are 14579, and we are based in Oklahoma City, and we serve youth and teenagers and young adults who are facing extreme instability in their lives. They may be involved with the foster care system or about to age out. They may be involved with the juvenile justice system. They may have no parental or family support, or they may truly be homeless. So what we do, we focus on 5 key areas: housing and basic needs first, because you need a safe place to sleep and food in your belly before you can be successful at anything else. So really working with them to find those resources. We have a food and hygiene pantry here on our campus, as well as some housing options, shelter for youth who are under 18 that is licensed by the state, as well as a shelter for homeless youth up to age 24. And then we have a community of tiny homes on our property as well for those youth who are living independently but not ready to be fully on their own yet. Second area we help with is education, and third is employment. So really making sure that they are meeting education and employment goals, and they have the tools and resources to do so. Everything from getting them caught back up in school to secondary education plans, or when they want to go to trade school, or what that looks like for them, as well as resume and interview skills, how to be a good employee. We all like to be part of a good team, so we want to make sure that they know how to do that. And then health and wellness, so everything from physical health, sexual health, spiritual health, mental health. We have amazing counselors on staff who can address trauma and mental health needs. And then our fifth area that we really focus on is permanent connections. So a lot of these youth don't have they don't know what healthy relationships are. They don't have them in their family or in their life. So really helping them know what healthy relationships are and build permanent connections with friends, romantic relationships, and then within the community. We want them to grow up to be productive members of our community and break that cycle of poverty. So again, I could talk all day, but I will wrap it up. Thank you for having me here to talk about Pivot, and I'm happy to answer questions that come up.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you very much. So we're going to take a break after our next speaker, Victoria Boucher from Community. And I hope I said that right. I used to know Boucher. So thank you very much, Victoria, for joining us. Thank you for your awesome background. I like that. I didn't get a chance to message or comment too much on Roberts, but Natalie, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. I am Victoria with Community Shares of Wisconsin. I am based in Madison, Wisconsin, a part of Community Shares, and also want to recognize that there are community shares across the country. So we're just one of the community shares. They're a part of your options for workplace giving, a part of the combined federal campaign. Many community shares have a focus on social and environmental justice, and we do that by supporting other nonprofits. So Community Shares of Wisconsin has about 70 member nonprofits that are a part of our work, with a good number of them focused on food and the environment and thinking about food systems. So we know that because of COVID-19, and I know that many of you know this as well, that due to the impacts of the pandemic as well as racial injustice, that so many of the cracks in our systems and the way that our society is structured, that more of that was visible and on our minds. And many of our member nonprofits are working to find solutions that won't just fill those cracks, but that are meant to be kind of permanent, long-term system change for the way that we all live and operate with each other. They kind of dare us to think about things differently. So some of our member nonprofits here in Madison are focusing on getting food from farmers and getting those farmers, a full fair wage, a fair price for the food that they're growing, and getting that food into the hands of folks who were furloughed or laid off, and in particular thinking about restaurant workers, many of who were people of color here in Madison. And not just getting them food, but getting them food that's culturally appropriate and specific, knowing that food that is important to people can be healing, it can comfort us, and help us sustain in times of trouble. So many different ways to think about food systems and food, and knowing that it impacts the ways that we exist in our environment with intersections of the way it impacts our well-being and development. So I appreciate all of you thinking about the ways that we interact with poverty and supporting nonprofits, recognizing that the Combined Federal Campaign has been helping to put money in the hands of nonprofits for 60 years is pretty incredible. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Victoria. So we're going to take a break here, and I think we want to open it up to questions. I don't see any questions coming in. You can unmute yourself, federal employees, if you'd like to. I wonder if not only the first four charities that spoke, but also Joni and Friends, Skycross, Naval Supply Corps, and the Utility Affordable Coalition. Would somebody just come in and just jump in and talk a little bit about what you've seen in the last 6 months as far as the needs that you've seen change for your organization? Poverty, the ones that, and we learned this during Hunger Week, that the ones, the folks that are least able to withstand some of the challenges of a pandemic are the ones that are most in need and quickly fall off into the hunger and poverty. So anybody want to unmute and talk a little bit about what this issue is and what you've seen change in the last 6 months during this pandemic and what the needs have been regarding poverty?
Mike, can I speak? This is David Skycross.
Yeah, please, David. Yeah.
One of the big things that we've seen, of course, we work along the Texas-Mexico border and then down some into Mexico's interior. And the COVID-19 has been really impactful in Mexico and along the border, both on this side and as well as in Mexico. And so we typically have just provided food and medicine and clothing to the poor, but they have really, really needed sanitation through donation of masks And we, through FEMA, have come up with 6 55-gallon barrels of sanitizers for those locations, the colonias, the orphanages, soup kitchens, and migrant centers that we support. So that's one way our vision has shifted in this period.
Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Natalie.
At Pivot, we have seen the need for food increase exponentially. A lot of our youth lost, when schools closed down, they lost access to, one secure meal a day that they were getting. And so really struggling to figure out where the next meal was going to come from, what they were going to eat. So our pantry has been emptied at least 5 times that I can think of since this all started. And then we've seen a real increase in the call for youth needing a place to stay. Our calls are up more than 75% over the same time period last year. Youth, if they were couch hopping, that's no longer an option when families and households kind of went into lockdown mode, or they realized that where they were staying really wasn't the safest place for them to be. So those are just 2 examples of increased needs we've seen in the last few months.
It's something that we talk about a lot, the connection between federal employees and that public service and the things that federal employees do for those in poverty. Even if you talk from food stamp programs, and I think the needs are, to feed families in poverty. Food banks provide $7 to $8 billion a year in food, and the federal government provides about $80 billion in food stamps. So the way that connection between nonprofits and federal employees and public service is kind of one of the things that we really focus on in the combined federal campaign. Public servants as federal employees, and charities as public benefit corporations. You must be a public benefit corporation to get your 501c3. And the way those two come together, especially in times like this, I think is so important, and just I don't know, it lifts my spirit sometimes to see federal employees and charities working together to solve these huge problems. So anybody else want to add any of the nonprofits before we move on to
Mike, if I could jump in.
Sure, yeah, please, Dave.
Hey, just to echo David and Natalie's sentiments. I mean, there were a lot of things that we weren't focused on COVID, and adding elements of mask and hand sanitizer was something that we started to put in the kits as well. In Natalie's case, for homeless and at-risk veterans, specifically in Indianapolis, there was from our point in time count, nationally, the numbers that went down, Indiana's increased to 6%. So on top of the pandemic, specifically, we went from housing anywhere from 120 pre-COVID to upwards of 300 per night. So the need is still very much dire. And during COVID, I mean, initially families started to focus on family. So donations kind of dropped a little bit. They've since started to pick back up, which is thankful. And this is perfect timing for CFC to come in and continue to help, those in need.
Thank you, Robert. So any questions? I know Jen's working the chat box. So if anybody has any other questions, please let us know. Antonia, who do we have?
Next we have National Energy and Utility Affordability Coalition, Ms. Katrina Metzler.
Hello, thank you, Antonia, and I appreciate you inviting me to be here today. My name is Katrina Metzler. I'm the Executive Director for the National Energy and Utility Affordability Coalition, fondly known as NUAC, and we're based in Washington, D.C. This is our first year participating in the combined federal campaign, and I am thinking that energy poverty is perhaps a new term for many of the people who are on the call today. I have a data story that demonstrates what that means, but I prefer to tell a human story, and so I thought that I would do something a little different and tell a story that demonstrates what energy poverty is all about. Surrounded on 3 stories, on 3 sides by cornfields, the 103-year-old 2-story farmhouse was set off from the road. An antiquated steel fuel oil tank rested in the basement, haggard and empty. It was the way the mother felt some days, waking up curled next to her child in November with no heat. When she brushed her teeth, the water was ice cold. She moved silently down the hallway to rouse her little boy, and her breath blew out in a cloud. As the three of them went downstairs to the kitchen, the temperature dropped 5 degrees. The youngest, 3 years old, tripped over the hem of her brother's too large hoodie that she wore over her nightgown. The mother heated water and reused her tea bag from yesterday. Refrigerated cinnamon rolls for breakfast meant that she could open the door of the electric stove after 14 minutes when they finished baking and let the heat out. The little family gathered around the open door of the stove and ate their cinnamon rolls while standing. The mother had done the math. The minimum delivery was 150 gallons at $1.56 a gallon, plus the surcharges since the tank had run dry and the emergency charge for delivery outside normal business hours. It was going to cost about $300 for the minimum and closer to $500 to fill the tank all the way up. 150 gallons of heating oil lasted less than a month in the winter. There was always a gap until she could afford to restore with the minimum delivery. As the temperatures grew colder, the gap from delivery to delivery would grow wider. She and her family were surviving in that gap. The next month, they would burn the Christmas tree for heat. We use a term called energy burden to describe a family's ability to pay. It's the percent of their income that goes to heat and cool their home. Before COVID, we regularly saw energy burdens greater than 20%. Now we're seeing those climb, exacerbated by people sheltering in place and using more power while they're less able to afford their bills because maybe they've lost income or there are utility disconnection prohibitions in place. So bills are climbing into the thousands of dollars. So that's contributing to an energy crisis in our country that my organization, NUAC, is working to address in cooperation and collaboration with the CFC and all of you who contribute to that campaign. Access to energy is more critical than ever right now with kids going to school from home, parents working from home, people need it to keep the food in their refrigerators cold and the water hot, in addition to keeping their homes warm in the winter and cool in the summer. As a national coalition representing providers of grassroots energy assistance programs, NUAC protects and advocates for energy affordability, and we, along with our 200 members, work very hard to ensure that voices like the mother in the story above don't get lost. And by the way, the mother in that story was me in 2003. Made my way from client to worker at a local LIHEAP program to executive director at the national level. So when people who are making decisions about the future of our country are talking about energy policy, it's important to me that they have the clients in mind and the people who have suffered and are suffering, that their voices are not lost. So thank you to the federal employees and the CFC for their dedication to the eradication of poverty in all of its insidious forms for these many, many years. And thank you for giving to your favorite cause.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, energy poverty is a strong word, especially when you have a story like that to explain it to us. That's not a definition. It's a real thing that affects real people. And so, thank you very much for sharing that with us and sharing your story.
Thank you, Mike.
Daniel from Navy Supply Corps Foundation.
Hey, good morning. My name is Dan Pionk. I'm the Executive Director of the Navy Supply Corps Foundation, and I want to thank the CFC and federal employees for the opportunity to participate in this virtual event on discussion of eradicating poverty. Last few years, it looked like worldwide poverty, and even in the U.S., was slightly improving. And that was pre-pandemic. Recently, the World Bank estimated that the coronavirus has thrown around about 100 million people into extreme poverty, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa. But decades of progress, have gone in reverse. It's a worse setback witnessed in a generation, according to the World Bank. And even in the U.S., the coronavirus recession has been financially devastating for many Americans. Many are going hungry, worried about eviction. And a current recession, like any other, has deepened the division between those who can navigate and those who can't. For the Navy Supply Corps Foundation, the CFC helps us help families in many ways. Primarily, our we don't support or provide direct support to eradicate poverty. I'd say it's indirectly, and that's through our scholarship and tuition assistance program. And we provide tuition assistance to those who would not otherwise have the opportunity to further education. And especially it's important now during this COVID-19 crisis. We were founded in 1970, recognized 501c3 nonprofit philanthropic organization. We have more than 39 chapters around the globe, and our chapters are the face of the organization with our local communities. Our scholarships, we've offered over 2,500 scholarships to date, over $6 million given to children dependents in need of tuition assistance. We also have a family aid and support team, we call it FAST, where we extend relief assistance to families experiencing times of extreme hardship, crisis. And some examples there is we've had pregnant mothers who could not afford childcare and other issues where we step in to help provide that assistance. We're proud to be part of the CFC campaign. And like I said, the CFC provides necessary resources for not only us, but for all charities to continue its mission. And the generous donations we receive from federal employees helps make sure all these organizations stay strong, focused, and ready to help those who need the help most. And the bottom line is the need has never been greater, especially with the pandemic, and in a sense, they've never been stronger to help one another. So please consider supporting the CFC, whether it's for eradicating poverty or any other charity. Your donations and contributions are important. And with that, I say thank you again for the CFC for allowing me to participate and provide a little bit of background on our organization and how we're trying to help eradicate poverty indirectly. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And you get website of the day because on your front page we have a CFC logo and CFC now open. So thank you very much for supporting the CFC on your website. It's an important thing. We know that during the campaign, similar to how the charities on the call today put in their CFC number into their signature, we encourage that. We encourage you to put the CFC logo on any emails that you're sending out to federal employees or anybody, and then obviously promoting it through social media too. So excellent. Thank you very much, David. Antonia, do you want to?
Yep. Next, we're going to have David Young with Sky Cross. Thank you so much, David.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon or morning, wherever you may be. I'm David K. Young, president of Skycross Incorporated. The CFC number is 10098. You can see it in the poster behind me. And we are a nonprofit service group that collaborates with missionaries, Christian missionaries that serve the very poor along the Texas-Mexico border. As I mentioned earlier, we do have some locations down further into the interior. And we do have locations on this side of the border that help us to feed the poor that are on this side of the poor, the very poor. There's a large migrant center to the east of McAllen, Texas, and we support about 2,000 families in that migrant center with food. We are an operation that helps to feed 30,000 people in about 40 different locations along the Texas-Mexico border. And we have about 70 to 80 volunteers. Nobody has a salary or any type of income from Skycross. I, as president, I own a business, and I'm one of the 70 to 80 volunteers that help to feed the folks along the border. So 100% of the donations go to feed the poor. One of the names that you may see that's not Skycross, its actual official name is Christian Care International Food and Medicine for the People in Need. And that's where I think that you will probably see in the CFC website. That's the official name of the organization. But Skycross is the nickname, and it's a name that was derived from Terry Bleakey, who was a retired colonel in the Air Force, who founded this back in 2000, not 2000, but 1995. One of the things that we're proud of as I end this is we received from the Federal Times back in 2016 Christian Charity of the Month of October. And that's something we're very proud of because of the fact that we have such a low percentage of the overhead of the money going towards the efforts of the organization. The website has a good video that will give a good background on it. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped support through the CFC, either our organization or the other organizations throughout the CFC organization and network. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in closing up our 8, Bonnie Banker from Joni and Friends has joined us. Sorry,
I think
is it
we have
Ellis?
Becky Ellis with Joni and
Sorry,
Friends today. That's okay.
We did a
okay.
switch up.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
did. I'm actually supposed to be on maternity leave, but haven't given birth yet. So I'm here. Bonnie is not. But thank you, Becky Ellis with Joni and Friends. Joni and Friends is an international disability ministry founded by Johnny Erickson Tata. And one of our main focuses internationally is to collect new and used wheelchairs, send them to prisons where the inmates refurbish them, and then ship them overseas to developing countries and give them to kids or young adults that do not have a wheelchair, do not have an opportunity to get out of their house simply because they cannot afford it. So we are literally lifting a child out of the dirt, providing them mobility and dignity and hope so that they can engage in community, so that mom and dad can get out and show them how to live. And so that's through our Wheels for the World program. Domestically, we also host warrior getaways, where the entire warrior family that has been impacted by visible or invisible wounds of war come for a week to receive hope, respite, fun. As you know, suicide rates among COVID are high. Well, suicide rates among our wounded veterans are, they have skyrocketed. And for us to provide them with a place to go, to talk with counselors, therapists, and to just receive the hope of Jesus Christ is our desire through our Warrior Getaway. A lot of veteran programs, they just cater to the veteran and the caregiver. Well, we include those kids as well because they are just as impacted by a TBI, a brain injury, or a moral injury. And so that is just Joni and Friends in a nutshell. Super grateful for the support that the CFC has provided us in the past to provide wheelchairs and just those families living in despair, a little bit of hope every day. So thank you all.
Thank you, Becky. And everything okay there? You're still
We're good. I didn't go into labor.
Are we good? All right. Okay. All right. I didn't want you to run through and get excited and thought that there was any kind of stress in this, because this is not stressful at all.
No.
Promise. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Jen, do you have anything in the chat box? Anything that you want to share? And then
no,
Marty,
I'm
going to put you on the spot. I want to put Marty on the spot after this and talk a little bit about what her project is and what she knows about poverty as we wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on?
I've dropped into the chat the Facebook pages. If you guys aren't already following us, go ahead and go grab it. We make it really easy. We share the cause message each week for you to grab a post, share it, tag us, promote your participation in the CFC. You have a lot more followers following your efforts. Let them know that you're participating and it is an approved CFC charity. And don't just do this week, grab it and share it every week throughout the open season. It goes all the way through January 15th. So please help us to share the good news on social media by grabbing the post, sharing it, You know, you can comment on the post, etc. We can't promote charities. We can only promote the causes. So we would need you guys to grab your the cause and share it regularly. So yeah, let's turn it over to Marty. Thanks, Mike.
You guys. Well, I am thrilled that you would like me to say a few words. My name is Marty Lawrence. I work with the Combined Federal Campaign. I'm so proud of the work the campaign does to support the charities in our communities. I'm based in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm currently helping out at our local homeless coalition, where we, like all of you, are experiencing crisis. Homelessness is a crisis in and of itself, and as are all of these situations. And the thing that I think is inspiring me is that people do want to help, and that we're the ones as the organizations. I think someone had it on a slide a little while ago, the Mr. Rogers quote of, you know, when you're not sure what to do, look for the helpers, and we're those helpers. And so we're giving people an opportunity to connect in ways that are meaningful to them. And there is a heart, I know, and I'm part of it as well, to where those of us who are fortunate enough to be working and to be safe and have homes to stay safe and sheltered in, want to do what we can to help our neighbors. So it's such a privilege to be here and to be part of the CFC with all of you. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Marty. I like that. When you don't know what to do, look for the helpers. That's exactly what everybody is on this call. You know, the charity's doing so much, and federal employees making gifts to make people's lives better through the inspiring work that the charities do. So thank you, Marty. Jen, Antonia, thank you all for joining us. You know, the charities, I thought you did a wonderful job of explaining to us what the need was and what those federal employees' dollars do. So on behalf of everybody on our outreach coordinator team, all the charities here, thank you all very much for joining us on week 3, Eradicating Poverty Week. Go out and have a strong week, support federal employees, support this cause and other causes through the Combined Federal Campaign. Okay, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful week.
Thanks,
All right,
Antonio.
bye-bye.
Bye.